This show in no way whatsoever condones or promotes any crime or behavior that harms children or anyone else. This program is educational and preventative. It is not a substitute for professional therapy. Unless otherwise stated, neither the host nor any guest is a credentialed professional of any kind. If you feel you need mental health treatment, please seek a professional. Welcome to Authenticity Redefined, Round Zero.
Police are accusing a former public defender of sexually assaulting a child.
Las Vegas math middle school teacher accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a 13-year-old girl.
County fire lieutenant and his wife are accused of sexual activity with a teenage girl.
Pastor charged with raping a young girl. They're worried he may have molested even more children.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground now! Get on the ground!
They say the former cop not only used his badge to gain the trust of children and parents, but used it to hide his alleged crimes. And despite red flags...
We do not tolerate this crime.
These are among the sickest tops of criminals.
Stop it! Stop it! You're hurting me! Stop it! You're hurting me!
Stop the madness.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Authenticity Redefined, Round Zero, Stop the Madness. Imagine a person living in a filthy house who is expecting company. Does that person spend their time obsessing over where the dust came from, who tracked in the dirt, how the stain got on the carpet, or how the smear got on the wall? Or are they focused on actually cleaning the house and making it presentable for their guests? You could spend months investigating the origin of the dust, measuring the length of the footprint, or sending samples of the stain to a laboratory. But what is not happening while you conduct that inquiry? The house is not being cleaned. To correct closed channel thinking, a person must get to work on cleansing the mind. Searching for external causes or past childhood excuses for criminal sexual urges does absolutely nothing to prevent future offenses. The only way to cleanse the mind is to fully disclose all illegal fantasies, urges, thoughts, and feelings to a responsible person who is willing to intervene. When a disclosure opens the channel, they expose themselves to the risk of social rejection. Humans have a deep, primal need for community acceptance, and closed channel thinking was designed precisely to protect the individual from the pain of having their true thoughts rejected. But when someone opens the channel and a responsible intervener firmly and clearly rejects the irresponsible thinking, that real-world social feedback interrupts the pattern in a way that solitary self-talk never can. The intervener supplies the external reality check that the closed channel was built to avoid. The 18 manipulative tactics are the inner machinery of closed channel thinking. Each tactic, in one way or another, keeps the potential offender hidden behind a wall of secrecy, blocking the transfer of truth. Whether intentional or habitual, it is the intervener's duty as a representative of the community to guide that person out of the dark. In our last episode, we covered the first 8 manipulative tactics. Today, we pick up right where we left off. We begin today with tactic number 9, assent. To assent means to agree or to present an agreeable demeanor. There is nothing wrong with agreement in itself, provided it is sincere. But when a discloser nods, smiles, maintains eye contact, and appears compliant, while internally disagreeing with everything being said, they are employing the manipulative tactic of false assent. The goal here is simple. Agree quickly so the intervener believes the irresponsible thoughts have been dealt with, allowing the conversation to end. An intervener cannot read minds. Only time will tell if a person is genuinely changing. Opening the channel is a muscle that must be developed and strengthened through repetition. Time is required for the disclosure to realize the true worth of honest communication. But time is also required for the interviewer to learn the person's mannerisms, to discern whether a nod is a true sign of repentance or just a tactic to stay locked in closed channel. Tactic number 10 is silence. In our work, we break silence into two distinct operational types: long-term silence and session-specific silence. Long-term silence is a lifelong lifestyle habit. These individuals have been closed off, loners, and silent types for decades, never truly expressing their inner life. Inside that silence, they continuously loop high-pleasure, deviant fantasies in their minds. Fantasies fueled by automatic criminal thinking errors like super-optimism, uniqueness, and ownership. To break this cycle, an intervener must actively invade the inner man. Remember, a person trapped in closed channel is institutionalized. As we discussed in episode 5, institutionalization is a psychological and emotional stagnation of maturational development. They may look like a grown adult physically, but emotionally, they are functioning at a middle school level. They must be coached, trained, and habilitated. Closed channel has provided them with false benefits, power, control, and excitement in a fantasy world. The intervener's job is to demonstrate the authentic beauty and stability found in open, honest relationships. Go slow. Ask targeted questions. Keep early sessions short. Allow for gradual growth, and let them experience the tangible relief of a cleansed mind. Now, session-specific silence, on the other hand, is an abrupt shift in demeanor. A discloser who is normally talkative suddenly becomes cold, quiet, and reserved. When this happens, refer back to the pattern we mapped in episode 6, Phenomenological Reporting. They have likely crashed into zero state. Retrace the steps. Ask where they built themselves up or inflated their self-image prior to the session, and identify where reality popped that balloon. Silence is an immediate indicator of closed channel thinking, which means active criminality is already manifesting in the room. Tactic number 11 is selective attention and perception. Thinking leads to feelings, and feelings lead to behavior. Criminally minded individuals dwell almost exclusively in their feelings, making life decisions based on mood. I don't feel like waking up. I don't feel like going to work. I don't feel like listening to you. Responsible people experience apathy too, but their logic and reason override their mood. They reason, if I don't work, I don't get paid. I can't pay rent, and I become homeless. Through bumping and grinding with life on life's terms, responsible adults learned that long-term stability requires doing what is necessary regardless of immediate feelings. Because the institutionalized disclosure habituates running from discomfort, the moment an intervener pours the chlorine and confronts an erroneous thought, internal discomfort sets in. Instead of facing it, the disclosure checks out mentally. They drift in and out of the conversation at will, leaving the intervener's counsel behind. How do you address this? You must rely on your intuition and observe body language. The moment you sense the disclosure has drifted off, stop talking immediately and call it out. Hey, are you listening to me right now? They may lie and say yes. Don't take their word for it. Demand a recap. Great. Summarize the last 3 minutes of what I just said. When caught, they may lash out or crash into zero state. At that point, assess whether to push forward by exposing the tactic or pause the session for the day. Tactic number 12 is total inattention. While selective attention is a subtle drifting in and out, total inattention is an aggressive, overt shutdown. The discloser enters the session pouting, crossing their arms, turning their body away, or glaring at the wall, behaving exactly like an angry teenager. Again, remind yourself, institutionalization means you are dealing with emotional middle school development inside an adult body. Do not confuse this with intellectual or clinical mental disability. In Yochelson and Samenow's 15-year study, criminals were shown to be highly intelligent, creative, and skilled across various vocations, arts, and trades. This often confuses families and interveners. How can such an accomplished, talented person act this way? Because criminality is compartmentalized. A person can be a brilliant attorney, police officer, or teacher, yet remain completely stagnated when forced to expose their inner life. Regardless of their professional status, they must be taught like children to endure the discomfort of opening the channel. Tactic number 13 is tardiness and missing appointments. If you have chosen to step up as an intervener for someone in one of the disclosure groups, you must understand the high level of commitment required. Listening to a person once or twice will not undo decades of institutionalized thinking. Rewiring the neural pathways of the brain requires deliberate, consistent, and repeated open channel sessions. Skirting responsibility is a core feature of criminality, and it shows up directly through late arrivals, last-minute cancellations, and missed appointments. Anyone can have a genuine emergency, but you must track the pattern. A discloser cannot open the channel if they refuse to show up for the process. Tactic number 14 is confession. This might sound counterintuitive, but confession can be used as a high-level manipulative tactic. When an intervener brings up a deeply uncomfortable topic, like intrusive sexual urges, the discloser will suddenly confess a completely unrelated issue, like their temper, spending habits, or a minor workplace conflict. The goal is to derail the session. An untrained intervener gets excited thinking a breakthrough happened, and 2 hours are wasted discussing an irrelevant topic while the core sexual criminality remains untouched in closed channel. Set clear topics at the beginning of the session and stick to them. If the discloser tries to confess an off-target issue, table it immediately. We can discuss your temper next week. Today, we are staying on target with what happened on Tuesday. Tactic number 15 is generalizing a point to absurdity. This tactic wastes an immense amount of time in fruitless, abstract debates. The discloser shifts the focus away from their specific choices by bringing up broad, hypothetical, what-if questions. They will ask, what about other countries where the age of consent is different? How can something be illegal here but legal there? Or they will lean into causation theories. What if a person was raised in a hypersexual environment? Doesn't the media sell sex to everyone anyway? Notice that every single one of these questions points away from their personal behavior. Well-meaning interveners fall into this trap because they want to be good teachers, so they end up debating global laws or societal decay. Establish a strict boundary from day one. The conversation stays on you. The moment they generalize or bring up hypothetical scenarios, call out the tactic. That is a hypothetical generalization. We are not discussing international law or the media today. We are discussing your specific choices. Tactic number 16. Putting others on the defense. Responsible adults process criticism constructively. When criticized, they evaluate the feedback. Is it valid? Is the person credible? What can I prove? They might feel temporary disappointment, but they quickly balance their perspective and move on. An institutionalized person has never developed the ability to take criticism gracefully. When held accountable, their pretensions break and they react like a cornered animal, or fight or flight. They go on the attack, insulting the intervener, criticizing their methods, bringing up past mistakes, or hiding behind social injustices. This immediately shifts the focus. Suddenly, the intervener is explaining themselves and defending their character. If there is a grain of truth in their critique, acknowledge it briefly but table it. My flaws are not the topic today. We can address my methods later, but right now, we are putting the focus back on your choices. If the accusation is completely false, ask them directly. Are you attacking me right now just to avoid answering the question? They are likely in zero state. Calmly use logic to stabilize them. remind them of balanced truths without inflating their ego, and guide them back to taking criticism like a mature adult. Tactic number 17 is circumlocution, literally talking around a subject. In Yochelson and Samenow's framework, circumlocution is a deliberate or habitual verbal smokescreen used to evade direct self-disclosure. Instead of giving a straightforward answer about a specific thought or action, the disclosure wraps the core issue in layers of irrelevant background details, technical jargon, or long, winding stories. Its primary function is control and diversion. By flooding the room with useless details, the disclosure wears down the intervener and ensures the spotlight never lands on their eternal reality. Here is how circumlocution operates in real life across 3 distinct forms. Example 1. The scenic route. Drowning in background detail. This is the intervener's question. Why were you looking at those hidden social media profiles yesterday afternoon? The disclosure's circumlocution. Well, yesterday was a chaotic day from the start. Traffic on 995 was backed up for an hour because of construction near the exit, so I got to work late. My supervisor was already in a bad mood, and then the server went down. So I was sitting at my desk waiting for IT, and I started browsing the web just to pass the time. How it maintains closed channel. They spend 90% of the time talking about traffic, supervisors, and IT servers. The intervener has to wade through a mountain of useless facts, while the disclosure completely avoids answering why they chose those specific profiles. Example number 2. Technical language hiding behind complexity. Here's the intervener's question. Did you have intrusive sexual thoughts about such and such while sitting on the porch? Here's the disclosure's circumlocution. When you look at human visual processing and proximity, being in an outdoor communal space naturally triggers cognitive associations and sensory inputs. The brain processes environmental stimuli in real time based on stress levels. How it maintains closed channel. The disclosure shifts from an accountable human to an abstract textbook, using clinical vocabulary to neutralize the emotional weight of their internal choices. Example number 3. The storytelling trap, reframing as a noble narrative. Here's the intervener's question. Why didn't you disclose that you were feeling the urge to isolate yourself last night? The disclosure's circumlocution. You know how I've always been someone who needs quiet time to process things. Ever since I was young, when I got overwhelmed, taking space helps me reset. I was reflecting on my week and realized I just needed to charge my batteries. How it maintains closed channel. They paint a noble narrative about self-care, completely talking around the fact that the isolation was a deliberate step toward closed channel fantasy. So how do we break the circumlocution? Number 1, recognize the smokescreen. If an answer takes longer than 15 seconds without addressing the core subject, flag it as circumlocution. Number 2, interrupt firmly. Hold on, you are giving me background details that are not relevant to what I asked. Number 3, re-ask in 10 words or less. I don't need the story about traffic or IT. Did you look at those profiles on purpose? Yes or no? Tactic number 18, our final tactic, is regurgitation. The goal of a closed channel is to end the conversation as quick as possible while avoiding true accountability. They do this either by becoming aggressive or by giving the false appearance of being fixed. Regurgitation is when the disclosure parrot repeats the intervener's exact words, concepts, and vocabulary back to them. An inexperienced intervener thinks a major breakthrough occurred, but it is pure lip service. The information reached their ears, but it never touched their heart. Words are cheap. Only consistent observation over time will prove whether a person is genuinely changing or simply regurgitating concepts to close the channel. Now, that we have exposed all 18 tactics, every intervener needs to know, what does the correct open channel actually look like? An open channel is not just someone talk. It is a total shift in internal posture. In the Yochelson and Samenow framework, a true open channel requires 3 non-negotiable elements: full disclosure, total receptivity to feedback, and genuine self-criticism. Here are the 5 non-negotiable indicators of an open channel. Non-negotiable number 1. Immediate localized directness, the 5-second rule. They get straight to the point in the very first sentence using localized language. Who, what, when, where. The closed signal. Well, you have to understand what kind of day I was having. The open signal. Yes, yesterday at 3 p.m., I had the urge and I chose to indulge it for 5 minutes. The second non-negotiable. Complete ownership without the word but. 0 qualifications. Here's the closed channel signal. I looked at those profiles, but only because I was stressed. Here's the open channel signal. I looked at those profiles because I allowed my thinking to wander into avoidance. Stress was just my excuse. Non-negotiable number 3. Active receptivity. Relinquishing control. They surrender control of the conversation and accept feedback without debate. If you point out a thinking error, an open channel immediately says, "You're right, I didn't catch that error." Non-negotiable number 4. Shift from external blame to internal choice. They stop talking about what happened to them and focus entirely on the choices made inside them. Non-negotiable number 5. Demeanor of humility and relief. The protective armor drops, their posture softens, and they project a visible sense of relief as the mental strain of keeping secrets evaporates. The rule of thumb for interveners: if you feel like you're wrestling, debating, or wading through mud, the channel is closed. If you feel like you are simply receiving facts and mapping the truth together, the channel is open. And that brings us to the end of the 18 manipulative tactics. Remember, whether it's circumlocution, generalizing to absurdity, vagueness, or minimization, these aren't just clever conversational moves. They are the armor of a closed channel. They are the mechanisms a stagnant mind uses to protect its secrets, evade accountability, and avoid the hard work of real change. To every potential disclosure listening to this right now, drop the armor. Stop running the scenic routes. Stop hiding behind excuses and open the channel wide. Authentic freedom doesn't begin when life gets easy. It begins the moment you tell the unvarnished truth about what's happening inside your head. And to our interveners out there, keep your eyes sharp, stay on target, and don't let the noise pull you off course. When you spot the tactic, call it out firmly. Bring the lens right back to center and pour the truth into that room. We aren't here to play intellectual games. We are here to protect families, restore lives, and stop the harm before it ever starts. Join us next week for episode 8, where we take our training to the next level. We will begin breaking down the 16 automatic criminal thinking errors identified by Dr. Yochelson and Dr. Samenow, starting with the foundational errors of the closed channel, the I can't posture, and the victim stance. You do not want to miss this. This is Authenticity Redefined Round 0. Share this episode with someone who needs the tools. Subscribe, leave a comment, and join us in doing the work. Until next time, take care, and let's stop the madness.